In this lecture, we are going to discuss the calculation of the potential of a point due to polarized dielectric material. And this lecture is also the continuation of the last two lectures. So, let us start our today's discussion about the calculation of the potential at a point due to the polarized dielectric material. For that, here we have considered the Cartesian coordinate system, and in this Cartesian coordinate system we have the dielectric material or polarized dielectric material MD, which consists of the dipole with the dipole moment P per unit volume. So, in this dielectric material, we have considered now the elementary volume dV prime at the point x prime, y prime, z prime. So, as the P is the dipole moment per unit volume, so the total dipole moment enclosed by this volume dV prime can be written as P dV prime. Now, the potential at some exterior point O having the coordinate x, y, z due to the dipole presence in the volume dV prime can be written as d capital V. Here d capital V represents the voltage at the point O due to the volume dV prime. So, here dV equals to P dot AR dV prime by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Now, you can see that this expression 10.1 we have seen earlier when we have studied the potential at a point due to dipole. So, from that this expression can be derived. You can see the previous lectures. Now, as we want to find out the potential at this point O due to dV prime, so we need to draw the line from the point x prime, y prime, z prime to the point x, y, z, and the distance here is r, capital R. So, this value of this capital R can be calculated by the formula. Here it is r square equals to x minus x prime square plus y minus y prime square plus z minus z prime square, where r is the distance between the volume element dV prime at the coordinate x prime, y prime, z prime and the field point O having the coordinate x, y, z. Now, we want to transform this expression 10.1 in a form so that we can understand the physical interpretation of the potential due to the polarized dielectric material. To do that, first we are going to use one vector identity. The vector identity is del into 1 by r equals to ar by r square. So, this here del prime is written because this del is taken with respect to the coordinate x prime, y prime, z prime. But originally the vector identity is that del into 1 by r or 1 by any scalar quantity equals to ar by r square. So, using this expression 10.2, we first simplify this expression 10.1. Let us see that one. So, here del prime is the del operator with respect to x prime, y prime, z prime. Now, as you can see that here 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is a constant. So, keep it aside. Now, P dot ar by r square. If we take this one, then you can see that P dot ar by r square. So, now this ar by r square can be written as del prime into 1 by r, because you see that here ar by r square is del prime into 1 by r. So, here ar by r square can be represented by del prime into 1 by r. So, P dot del prime a 1 by r. So, now again we are going to apply another vector identity, that is del prime dot fa. Here f is the scalar quantity and a is the vector quantity. This can be written equals to f into del prime dot a plus a dot del prime f. Now from that we can find out a dot del prime f. This is the expression which will be equals to del prime dot fa minus f into del prime dot a. Now if we replace this f by 1 by r and this a by this vector p, then easily we can see that this p dot del prime into 1 by r can be represented by here p dot del prime 1 by r equals to del prime dot p by r minus 1 by r into del prime dot a. That is the expression we have written. So that can be replaced by this expression. So p dot ar by r square can be expressed, which is given in 10.4, expression 10.4. Now if we substitute the expression 10.4 into the expression 10.1 and if we take the volume integral of this expression, then we will get the expression 10.5. You can see that V, capital V, it is the volume at the exterior point O due to the polarized dielectric material, will be equals to the volume integral 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught del prime dot 1 by r into p minus 1 by r into del prime dot p into dv prime. Now we are going to apply the divergence theorem to the first term, and from that we can get the relationship from the volume integral to the surface integral. So from that we can get this expression. The first one you can see that because we know the volume integral of del dot any vector a equals to the surface integral of a dot n into ds. That we know. If you cannot remember now, you can check my initial videos where the relationship between the surface integral to the volume integral using the divergence theorem is given. Now as we can change the first term, so from that we got the expression v equals to the surface integral of p dot an prime divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r into ds prime plus the second term will be same, volume integral of minus, because minus is taken inside the integrand, so minus del prime dot p by 4 pi epsilon naught r dv prime, where an is the outward unit normal vector to the surface ds. So here ds prime is taken at the surface of the dielectric material, and this through this ds prime an unit normal vector is normal to that ds prime area. So this is the unit normal area. Now we are going to compare the expression 10.6 with some equations which we have derived in the previous lectures. So here you can see that the potential at a point due to the surface charge, that is equals to the 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught surface integral of rho s r prime, rho s is the function of r prime ds prime by r. Here r minus r prime is the capital R. Now this expression we have seen earlier in our videos, that for a surface charge what will be the potential at a point, for a volume charge what will be the potential at some other point. So these are the expressions of potential V for the surface charge, for the volume charge. Now if we compare the expression 10.6 with this expression for the surface charge and for the volume charge, you can see that just we can replace this rho s a r prime. You see that rho s r prime, then the other part will be same. So here rho s, we can take rho s equals to p dot an. Here you see that rho s will be equals to p dot an, but here you can see that rho ps is written. We will discuss why ps is written afterwards, but first you take that one. Rho s equals to p dot an and rho v equals to minus of del prime dot p. Now why it is written that is rho ps and rho pv? Because we are taking into account the dielectric material in which the charges are not free. These charges are bound. That is why this is the rho ps is the bound surface charge density. Bound surface charge density, which is equals to P dot An, and rho PV shows the bound volume charge density, which is equals to minus del dot P. And it is written here, you can see that in other words, expression 10.8 shows that when polarization occurs, an equivalent volume charge density rho Pb is formed throughout the dielectric, while an equivalent surface charge density rho Ps is formed over the surface of the dielectrics. We refer rho Ps and rho Pb as bound surface and volume charge densities respectively, which is distinct from free surface and volume charge densities rho s and rho Pv. Now, this term, or in other words, this sentence, let us understand this sentence more deeply, or let us understand deeply what is the physical uh, interpretation of the calculation of the potential at some exterior point due to the polarized dielectric material. You can see that in expression 10.6 we have the potential V at the exterior point O, which is equals to the summation of the potential due to the surface charge and due to the volume charge density. Now suppose a dielectric material is given, and this dielectric material is electrically neutral because the negative charge and the positive charge in this dielectric material are same. That is why the dielectric material is electrically neutral. Now if we apply the external electric field, then the dipoles present in the dielectric material, some dipoles, that means some charges, it may be negative, it may be positive, depends on the application of the electrostatic field. If we apply electric field or electrostatic field, some say negative charges will appear at the surface of the dielectric material, and for this surface charge, total surface charge, we will get a potential at the exterior point. As the dipoles having the negative charges at the surface of the dielectric material, then the positive charges will be at the interior of the dielectric material. So from that we can get the volume charge, and for that volume charge we will get another potential at that same point. Now if we add these two potentials, we can get this potential V. So that is the physical interpretation of the potential at some exterior point due to the polarized dielectric material. Now here the points I have discussed, now it is written in written form, it is given so that you can understand well. Bound charges are those that are not free to move within the dielectric material. They are caused by the displacement that occurs on a molecular scale during polarization. Free charges are those that are capable of moving over macroscopic distance, as do electrons in the conductor. Now suppose here in this case we are considering positive bound charges on the surface. As I said, according to the application of the electrostatic field, it may be the positive charge or it may be the negative charge, that some charge, it may be positive or negative, will move to the surface, and the other charge, that means in the dipole, if the positive charge move to the surface, then negative charge will move to the volume. So here positive bound charge is taken is on the and surface. So here you can see that qb is the surface integral of rho ps ds, and for the volume charge, minus qb equals to minus of volume integral of del dot p dv. So if we take q plus minus qb, that means if we get the summation of equation 9 and 10, we will get 0. That means what? That means if we do not apply the external electric field, then the total charge or the total negative charge will be equals to the total positive charge. That is why the material will be electrically neutral. Now we will move further, that suppose in the dielectric, polarized dielectric material, some free charges is added to the polarized dielectric material. So whenever we are applying some extra free charges to the polarized dielectric material, so the charge density, volume charge density will increase. Now suppose this total charge density due to the bound charge as well as the free charge is rho t. So rho t is the total charge density in the polarized dielectric material, that is equals to rho v plus rho pv. So we know according to the Gauss law, that is del dot d equals to rho v. So del dot epsilon naught E equals to rho t here. So now from this second and third term we will get, you see that rho v equals to del dot epsilon naught E minus rho pv, and we know rho pv means minus of p, minus of del p. So here from that we can get this one, you see that rho pv equals to minus of del dot p. So we can replace this rho pv by minus of del dot p. So minus minus plus del dot, so del dot epsilon naught E plus p. Here this term now we are representing epsilon naught E plus p is as d. So rho v equals to del dot d. Here d is the epsilon naught E plus p. Now from the expression 10.12, what information we get, you can see that the net effect of the dielectric on the electric field E is that the D increases inside it by the amount P. So here D increases, that is the flux density increases by the amount P. In other words, the application of E to the dielectric material causes the flux density to be greater than it would be in free space. Actually, we know according to the definition of the flux density for free space, we have seen D equals to epsilon naught E. But that expression D equals to epsilon naught E is the special case of that expression 10.12. This expression D is the general expression of flux density, that is D equals to epsilon naught E plus P, because you see that if free charges are not present, then P will be, that means for the free space this P is equals to 0. So for the free space D is equals to P epsilon naught E. So that is written here. You see that in 10.12 it is for free space, which is a special case of that in 10.12, because P equals to 0 in free space. Now we move further. For some dielectrics, this P is proportional to the applied electric field or flux density actually. So this P is proportional to the flux density or the electric field intensity. So P is proportional to D or P is proportional to epsilon naught E. Now this P equals to, so from that we can get P equals to psi E epsilon naught E. Here this psi E is called the electrical susceptibility of the material. Now, what do you mean by the electrical susceptibility? That means it is written here, which is more or less a measure of how susceptible or sensitive a given dielectric is to electric field. That means if the dielectric is placed in the external electric field, this the dielectric, how much this dielectric is sensitive towards this electric field, that is that can be calculated by this electrical susceptibility, how much it is susceptible or sensitive to a given electric field of this dielectric. So now we have seen that D equals to epsilon naught E plus P. So P can be replaced by this IE epsilon naught E. So here D equals to, you see that this expression D equals to epsilon naught E plus P. So P is replaced by this expression 10.13. So here D equals to epsilon naught E plus xi E epsilon naught E. So from that calculation we got D equals to epsilon naught E 1 plus xi E. So from that we got the expression 1 plus xi E equals to epsilon r. So D equals to epsilon naught epsilon r E, or ultimately D equals to epsilon E, and we know epsilon equals to epsilon naught epsilon r, and epsilon r is the relative permittivity, which is equals to 1 plus IE, that will be equals to epsilon by epsilon naught. Here epsilon is the permittivity of the dielectric, dielectric. Epsilon naught is the absolute permittivity of the dielectric. Epsilon r is called the dielectric constant or relative permittivity. So you are familiar with the term the relative permittivity, that is actually called the dielectric constant. So one of the property of the dielectric material that I said earlier, we will discuss. One of the properties, the dielectric constant is nothing but the relative permittivity. In using as per the definition, we can write the dielectric constant. The dielectric constant or the relative permittivity is the ratio of the permittivity of the dielectric material to that of the free space. Here you see that epsilon r, that is equals to epsilon by epsilon naught. So that is written in according to the definition, we can write this one. Now the theory of dielectrics that we have studied up to this part, where we have assumed that the dielectrics are ideal, but practically dielectrics are not ideal, or no dielectric is ideal. So when a large electric field is applied to a dielectric, that means not ideal dielectric, it begins to pull electrons completely out of the molecules and the dielectric becomes conducting. I repeat, when a large electric field is applied to a dielectric, that is practical dielectric, that is not ideal dielectrics, it begins to pull electrons completely out of the molecules and the dielectric becomes conducting. Now, when the dielectric becomes conducting, then it is said that the dielectric breakdown has occurred. So the dielectric breakdown occurs in all kind of dielectric materials. It may be gas, it may be liquid or solid, and it is dependent on the nature of the material, that that temperature, material temperature, humidity, and the amount of time that the field is applied. So from this idea, we can say the dielectric strength of the material, or we can define the dielectric strength of the material, which is another parameter of the dielectric. So the minimum value of the electric field at which dielectric breakdown occurs is called the dielectric strength of the dielectric material. Or in other way, we can say the dielectric strength is the maximum electric field that a dielectric material can tolerate or withstand without breakdown. But that is for the understanding of the dielectric breakdown, we have considered this one, the practical dielectric, which is not the ideal. And in practical dielectrics, if we continuously apply the electric field, then it will at some time of the value of the electrostatic field or electric field, it will pull the electrons from the molecules or the atoms, and dielectrics will become the conducting material, and we can say the dielectric breakdown occurs. That is for the practical purpose. But as we are discussing about the theoretical portion, so we will consider only the ideal dielectrics. Here, due to the because of the understanding of the dielectric breakdown, we have considered the practical dielectrics. But throughout the lecture, we will see whenever we will consider the dielectric material, that means we will consider the ideal dielectric materials. So that is all for today's class, students. In the next class, we will continue this topic, because some properties of the dielectric materials also we will have to discuss, and this with that the continuity equation we will discuss in the next class. So thank you very much, students. Goodbye.